content is brought to you by Algorand, which is the official sponsor of the Thinking Crypto channel and podcast. Algorand is building the technology to power the future of finance, the convergence of traditional and decentralized models into a unified system that is inclusive, frictionless, and secure. It is founded by Turing Award-winning cryptographer Silvio Micali. Algorand has developed a blockchain infrastructure that offers the interoperability and capacity to handle the volume of transactions needed for DeFi, financial institutions, and governments to smoothly transition into FutureFi. The technology of choice for more than 700 global organizations, Algorand is enabling the simple creation of next-generation financial products, protocols, and exchange of value. For more information, please visit algorand.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Congressman Tom Emmer. Congressman Emmer, great to have you on the show.
Great to be with you again, Tony.
Yeah, last time we had a really great conversation, and I have more questions for you, and appreciate all the great work you're doing. Let's start with your recent bill around the digital dollar CBDC. Can you tell us about that and what you're looking to accomplish there?
Yeah, last Wednesday, I think it was the 12th of January, we introduced a bill that will prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency directly to individuals. Look, just as Americans don't have individual bank accounts directly with the Fed, a central bank digital currency that is unilaterally developed by the Federal Reserve and issued directly to citizens or individuals, I guess, generally, would eliminate, in my opinion, financial freedom. And people have asked, well, why do you think this is important? Well, I think as other countries like China develop CBDCs that fundamentally omit the benefits and protections of cash, specifically, they're not open, permissionless, and private, right? I think it's more important than ever to ensure that the United States digital currency policy protects financial privacy, maintains the dollar's dominance, and cultivates innovation. So, and I've just got huge concerns with what I would argue is digital authoritarianism, or what some others have referred to as an authoritarian CBDC model.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy to hear that, and that this was put forth, because one of my concerns has been for a long time is, look, every country's building their CBDC, and in the United States, we have the Constitution. How do we align this digital dollar to the Constitution and the right to privacy, which is very important?
Well, a short argument should be, why would the free and open United States constitutional republic that is the United States of America, why would we ever want to emulate the Communist Party of China? That right there should steer you away from this. But there are some major concerns with the, I will argue, Chinese model. Cyber threats, right? And I say that because under this model, where the Fed would create a central bank digital currency and issue it directly to Americans, guess what? They'd have to centralize and house all of Americans' financial data. Yeah. Our government has not shown capable of protecting that type of information. You brought up privacy. The FDIC, by the way, has found that one of the primary reasons Americans aren't unbanked is due to a distrust of institutions. A CBDC model that would have the Fed creating the digital currency and issuing it directly to Americans would exacerbate that concern, and I believe would limit access, further limit access to even a CBDC. A lot of people, by the way, want to argue that this would undermine the dollar's dominance. Look, one of the contributing factors, Tony, to the US dollar's primacy is its ease of access, both domestically and international. And ease of access that dollar-backed stablecoins, by the way, are amplifying. But an authoritarian style CBDC would frankly just neglect this aspect of the dollar. And then importantly, decentralization is the entire point of blockchain technology. Because data is decentralized, it's more secure. So look, simply put, our bill is a statutory prohibition on a potential surveillance tool that I believe will kill private sector innovation and ultimately deflate the dollar's dominance. In this case, that's why I think Congress must regulate our regulators.
Absolutely. Now, just to make sure I have all my bases covered, with the vision of CBDCs, you're not trying to stop the digital dollar, but rather putting that barrier of the Fed should not have, direct access to the American public or people who live in the United States, but rather the digital dollar, if it needs to be distributed, can go through maybe the existing banking framework, like a JP Morgan or Citibank or whoever it may be.
Yeah, you basically have two models right now, and you're right. The Chinese model, I would argue, is having a central bank. In this case, I don't believe we should emulate that. I don't believe our Federal Reserve should ever become a retail bank that works directly with customers. Quite frankly, our government should never be in the business of competing with our private sector. The other way, which you just mentioned, would be using the existing financial rails, right? Using the banking system. But I would say that today, Tony, we already have that. That's what we use our debit cards and our bank cards for today. So really, in order for this to happen, and I think you can, as the technology continues to evolve, you could have a central bank digital currency that is open, permissionless, and private, that maintains all the qualities of cash. Yeah, we don't oppose that, but we do oppose this digital authoritarianism, and I don't think what we have existing today actually answers that call, even though you could use the existing financial rails. So thanks for bringing it up, because I think that was one of the points of confusion when we introduced this last week, is some people automatically thought we were opposed to any central bank digital currency. And that's not the issue. The issue is making sure that we don't allow someone in this country to create a surveillance tool like the one that they've created in China.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some statements made by Fed Chair Jerome Powell last week, which I thought was actually good news. He was asked a question, I believe, by Senator Pat Toomey. Could stable coins and the digital dollar CBDC coexist together? And he said yes. How do you what do you think about those statements, and where you kind of have the public and private working together and those things in the economy?
I look, I'm willing to listen to more, but whether it's Jay Powell or Gary Gensler or Janet Yellen, there have been a lot of mixed messages, Tony, that have been coming out of these different people and the bureaucracies that they lead. I'm concerned because it was Jay Powell who told us we were going to get a report, which we were supposed to get last summer. We still haven't seen the report, and I think he told Senator Toomey in that same hearing that expect that the report will be out in a matter of weeks, but apparently it's not going to be exactly what we were waiting for. So when he talks about these things, I think it's trust but verify, right? It's a good sign, but let's find out what the details are. And we need to hold these people accountable. No offense to Chair Powell, but look, the proof is in the detail. It's one thing to talk about it in a committee hearing when you're testifying, but I want to see the detail. And again, I'm fine with our government being involved as long as they're setting up light touch regulation, as long as we start to talk about safe harbor laws. We talk about sandboxes where people, innovators, can literally create new opportunities without fear of reprisal from our government or penalty from our government after the fact. As long as we start talking about those things, I think it can coexist.
For sure. Now, speaking of light touch regulations, a lot of folks still frustrated with the SEC and Gary Gensler. Chair Gensler and the SEC have not approved, well, actually, they've denied all the Bitcoin spot ETF applications. Why do you think they haven't approved any of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, given that they've approved the Bitcoin futures?
Well, I mean, this is really nonsense. From our position, the SEC's harmful posture towards the industry is purely driven by Mr. Gensler's thirst for power. As you point out, up until last October, the SEC had not approved Bitcoin futures ETFs or Bitcoin spot ETFs due to concerns about the spot market's potential for fraud and manipulation. Those were, I believe, Chair Gensler's words. From our perspective, the Bitcoin future, and by the way, not just our perspective, reality, Bitcoin futures ETFs that commenced trading last October on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they are based, as you probably know, Tony, on Bitcoin futures contracts, right? Those CFTC regulated Bitcoin futures contracts, this is really important for your listeners to get. Those CFTC regulated Bitcoin futures contracts that have been approved by Chair Gensler and the SEC get 100% of their pricing from 5 US regulated crypto exchanges. Okay. So the main reason it doesn't make any sense that Bitcoin futures ETFs can trade, but not Bitcoin spot ETFs, is that the price discovery for both is based on the spot market. So it defies imagination to understand why they would approve Bitcoin futures ETFs, but not Bitcoin spot ETFs, when both of them, the price discovery is based on the spot market. It makes no sense at all, unless, of course, this is just Chair Gensler's need to be all powerful in this area. And it's really not good for the market because, and I'm sorry to ramble on, but remember, the SEC's job is to protect American investors. Well, they're not protecting American investors. They're literally eliminating opportunities for American investors. And frankly, they've got to change course on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the question comes up from many folks. We see all these things and we're frustrated. What can we do about it? And is it that Congress has to step in to pass comprehensive crypto regulations to essentially put the guardrails around the SEC from stifling innovation, and that's stopping, regulations by enforcement, and then getting the ETFs approved, the spot ETFs approved?
Well, actually, we got to continue to weigh in with the administration. I would say people in the market weigh in with your elected representatives. That means not just the representatives in the U.S. House of Representatives, which is sometimes referred to under the misnomer of Congress, since both the Senate and the House actually are Congress. But weigh in with your state senators, weigh in with your representatives so they understand this is important to you, and try to educate them, because I think that's probably one of the most important things you can do is educate, one, raise awareness, but then make it very clear to them why it's so important that that their member pay attention to the issue. And then I'm going to tell you, you do not want a comprehensive regulatory structure being passed by Congress at this point. I think it's more important that what we do in this Congress, and by the way, we had a hearing within the last couple of months, Tony, that really I think really went a long way towards helping us with the next step. I go back to August. August is when the Senate worked on this so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill. And the Treasury Secretary allegedly lobbied Senator Rob Portman's office for an amendment that would create a tax on the industry, which it changed the definition of broker. And unfortunately, when they did that, they really created a lot of confusion. But that part aside, because the amendment itself was misguided. But what it did was it woke up an industry, fastest growing industry that we've seen in this country in decades. The crypto folks were out there. They all started weighing in the Senate, and you got years worth of education in a matter of weeks, Tony. Senators that really weren't familiar with this at all, suddenly their offices were lit up, and they knew that they had to get up to speed quickly. And now you've seen some of the senators like Ted Cruz, for instance, weighing in when they hadn't been before. The other thing that happened on the House side a few weeks back is we had a hearing about rebranding crypto to Web3. It was bigger than that, but that's really what we saw in the hearing. And to your question, biggest surprise that we saw in the hearing was our Democrat colleagues, because this really is a nonpartisan issue. The vast majority of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle appeared to adopt a new posture towards crypto, because for the most part, up until that hearing, Democrats on our committee had historically been outspoken critics of crypto. Not that there weren't Republicans too, but more and more Democrats had been. So it was really interesting to see most of them use their time during that hearing to learn. And the important thing that happened was publicly they started to disagree with Gary Gensler, which you want to make a difference. First, you do it by raising awareness. You have people understand this is a nonpartisan issue. This is good for everybody. And then second, we work towards next Congress with the momentum that we have to put together a package of priorities, if you will. I've got some ideas on that, but you try to move a group of key crypto bills through the House in 2023 with a new Congress that, quite frankly, could go a long way towards setting some broad parameters and clarifying some issues. For instance, when we talk about definitions of currency, security, commodities, it would do a lot for innovators in the space who then don't have to worry about regulation through enforcement or public statements that confuse the marketplace.
Yeah, that's definitely something I know folks have been building specific tools to do outreach to their respective representatives and so forth. So we'll keep at it. Can you tell us a bit about the Blockchain Caucus and what's the latest and the initiatives there? Are there any new members and things along those lines?
Oh, I'd love to. The Blockchain Caucus, I love talking about the history because the Blockchain Caucus was started by a couple of people that I think your listeners would be surprised to find out, right? Jared Polis, who's the governor of Colorado, was one of the original founding members of the Blockchain Caucus. And believe it or not, Mick Mulvaney was one of the original co-founders years ago. I want to say 6-7 years ago. Today, myself, Darren Soto from Florida, Foster from Illinois, and Dave Schweikert, who I think was there at the beginning, Dave Schweikert from Arizona. We're the co-chairs. We have doubled the size. By the way, double the size of the caucus. We're now sporting some 40 members plus. A few of the new members include Auchincloss from Massachusetts, Maria Salazar from the Miami area, and Byron Donalds from up in the Naples, Florida, Fort Myers area. We do a lot of great work. So far, there have been 6 staff briefings to the blockchain caucus staff on NFTs, crypto with anti-money laundering policies, ransomware attacks, crypto mining, digital wallets, voting, things like that. And again, this is an important piece, if you will, Tony, to that one that we were just talking about, raising awareness and then helping move things in the next Congress. And I think we've come light years. I would have put us 3 to 4 years off, but for that change last August and everything that's happened in the run up to the end of last year. And I'm really excited about what this new year is going to bring in terms of growing that blockchain caucus even larger, raising awareness to an even greater height, and then being ready with a series of clarifying legislative solutions that will allow innovators and investors in this space every possible opportunity to grow this right here in the United States of America, which, I'm a little selfish, but there is no other country, if we get out of the way, where you can have the innovation potentially that we could have here in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you could answer this question, but we know we have the president's working group. They've been studying the crypto market and stable coins and things along those lines. Are they aware of the global competition that's happening? And, we do this right, it could be very impactful the same way the internet was, creating jobs, obviously more tax revenues generated, could affect GDP and things like that. Do you think they're aware of that? And is that on their radar? And once again, it might be a difficult question to answer.
Well, I can't without being inside their head and having them tell me yes or no. I saw the working group's paper. I wasn't happy. I think they missed the mark, but that doesn't mean that they don't know. I think what you're dealing with here, Tony, is you're dealing with 2 different schools of thought. And by the way, I'm going to simplify it because I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, there's these people and there's those. I think there's a whole cauldron full of boiling ideas, and people are sharing back and forth, and the technology is growing so rapidly, advancing so rapidly that I don't think it's this easy. But to simplify it for those who are watching, I believe you have people who, we've grown up this way. This is, by the way, since the beginning of time. There are those who are looking forward and seeing a completely different world. And there are those who are very comfortable in the world that we're living in. And that vision of the future scares them because most people are afraid of what they don't know and they don't understand. You literally have relationships between government and its citizens, frankly, between the marketplace and the customers that have forever been handled through intermediaries. And what we're looking at right now is a potential future, which I think is not just potential, it will become reality, of Web 2, which involves intermediaries, right? You're on social media. The easiest way to talk about it is you sign up with Twitter, you sign up with Facebook. They are the platform and they're the intermediary and they allow you to participate, which is both good and bad because they can also tell you can't participate. Our banks act as intermediaries for our financial transactions, right? Our government, by controlling its fiat currency, acts as an intermediary, if you will. Well, guess what? Web 3, Tony, would have no intermediaries necessary. Tony and Tom would own our own digital identities. Tony and Tom could literally do business together without having to worry about a third party administering that transaction. I think that scares most of the traditionalists, if you will, the establishment. I think it scares them because they don't see their own future in it, right? This disruption in the marketplace is a fabulous thing because there will be an evolution of even these people coming along because of the benefits, not just in being able to transact business, not just getting more people involved in the financial system, but by the way, cybersecurity, logistics, healthcare. I mean, the limit it's limitless if you start to look at what the future holds. So that's where you're at right now. You're at this crossroads where the old is right now in competition with the new and the future vision, the disruption, and we need policymakers in Washington, D.C. who allow both to exist, who allow the existing to survive, right, but transition into the new world that we're going to be in, and at the same time allows the innovators to do what we need them to do, which is bring us into the 21st century like we never expected. And by the way, that's what'll leave those that practice digital authoritarianism behind, like China.
Yeah, absolutely in agreement with you, Congressman Emmer. I wanted to ask about Bitcoin mining boom in the United States. I've interviewed quite a few miners, and some big things happening in Texas. After China banned Bitcoin mining, these miners spread around the world, and a lot of them came to the United States. What are your thoughts on this? And there's jobs being created locally. It's really cool what's happening.
Well, Tony, you just jumped right onto you dovetailed into what I just said. This is why it will leave them behind. So China, as it was, explained to me a few weeks ago, China went and locked down, right? Well, they lost 60% of their miners, which is interesting because I thought they locked it down, Tony. It probably tells you that you can't completely lock this down. You can't completely shut this down, no matter what government you're dealing with. People are going to do what people are going to do. If you try to frustrate their ability to innovate, if you try to frustrate their ability to advance themselves and their ideas, they will find another way to do it. That part aside, the 60% that they lost, if I'm not mistaken, and I can be corrected, but I believe 100% of that 60%, like you say, ended up in Texas. And it's very exciting. Texas offers some opportunities that I would think other states within the Republic should take a very close look. Leadership matters. How your state is governed matters. And I don't want to get into the Republican Democrat thing. When we talk about this, we got to put those partisan labels aside, and we just have to somehow bring the emotion down and have a business discussion and say, well, what do you think? Do you think it's better to have a state that is willing to allow us to innovate, right? Is not going to penalize us or retroactively charge us for something that we're trying to create? They'll instead do it all prospective so we can have the benefit of being able to take risks, try things out. If there's a need for regulation in an area, better to figure out what that is because a problem arises than to kill the innovation before you ever know that there's a problem, right? So I think Texas is a poster child right now, but it's not the only one. I mean, we've got some real champions out there. Go to Miami, right? The mayor of Miami has been an absolute superstar, and he's out there doing what college football coaches have been doing for years. Come to our place. Come to our place. This is where you're going to make it to the pros, and you're going to succeed. So you've got some of the greatest talent in the world in the United States of America. China's made mistakes. They're driving it away. We should not emulate China. We should open our arms up, by the way, open our minds up and embrace this innovation and encourage the people that want to drive it. There's a place in this country to lead, and that's the way you do it, by allowing what makes this country great. People with an idea can climb the top of the ladder today. By the way, you could fall off the top of the financial ladder tomorrow, and the beauty of this country is You can strap your boots back on and climb right back up the next day. We got to celebrate that again in this country. And I just think this whole industry, Tony, the people that you're talking to, that is freedom in this country, and that is the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Congressman Emmer, I want to end it on a fun question here, such as if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be about?
We were having this discussion earlier because I was told that Tony might have this question for you. That's it's like, come on, guys, look at me. I'm a white-haired guy that's 60 years old that didn't grow up in the same world that most of you are. But I'll tell you what the theme would be in mine. It'd be responsible libertarianism. You know, let me make the decisions that I believe best fit what I'm trying to do, so that those not only benefit me, but guess what? If I innovate, if I create, it's going to benefit Tony down the line. It's going to the two of us are going to benefit 20 other people. Those 20 people are going to benefit 220,000 and 200,000 and on and on. And so look, I love the idea of a Web3 where you and I, without worrying about the man, we can do business directly. And libertarianism, you know, I think it was Reagan who said at the heart of every Republican, there's a small libertarian. Yeah. I don't know. I think today, not so sure about Republicans and Democrats. I think there's a lot of people who want to be in charge of themselves. And as long as we're responsible and we're doing it to advance ourselves without hurting other people, Tony, I think it's a great thing.
Congressman Emmer, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and best of luck with all the bills and the respective legislation you're putting forth. And we'd certainly love to have you back on as things progress.
Love doing it, Tony. Keep getting the word out there. Happy New Year.